What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? Thank you for watching our video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
What's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad, and I'm here with Robo and Ree, and today we have a very, very special guest. Award-winning television and comic book writer. Work includes DC Superhero Girls, Teen Titans Go, Wonder Woman 77, Sensation Comics featuring Wonder Woman, and a story in Love is Love, which was a New York Times bestseller, #1 bestseller for DC Comics, as well as comics for IDW and Dark Horse. Amanda Deibert, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Weird Science recently wrapped up. What does that title mean to you?
Oh gosh, it's amazing to me. For one thing, it's actually the first full graphic novel that I've ever done. You know, I've done one-off stories, things in different collections, but as far as like a full, entirely written by me graphic novel, it's my first one, so it's very, very special to me.
Awesome.
In that way, as a milestone in my life. It's also a property that I love, and I'm a mom. I have a 5.5-year-old, and my daughter loves the show, loves the comics. So it's also really fun to have something that I can read to her that I wrote that she loves. So just all around, I love it.
That's amazing.
So you kind of answered the question right there. So it seems a lot of your material is towards the younger audience, right? Children, or some of it at least. Is that something that you are particularly fond of? Like, is that where your inspiration, that's where you want to work?
I love doing children's stuff. I think it's probably one of my favorite things that I do. It's really exciting to me to see kids excited about reading, excited about comics, excited about content. I'm writing on the animated He-Man for Netflix right now.
Yeah.
So like, it's also like, it's a super fun world. I'm a mom, so I love it. I love watching kids. There's just something about the honesty, the open enthusiasm of kids that, you know, as adults, we try to be a little more chill, a little more cool. And there's something really fun about creating content for people that just will unabashedly enjoy it.
Yeah.
That said, I do definitely things geared toward adults too. Like I do every year, I do a horror story with my wife, Kat Staggs, for John Carpenter's Tales for Halloween Night.
Awesome.
And those are very adult. on the very opposite end of the spectrum. And I also like getting to play with that darkness and do things that my child definitely won't see for many, many years.
Right.
Is also very fun.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That
So on the flip side of your children's work, I guess, like you're speaking to basically like kids whose brains are still developing.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a weight of responsibility that comes with that? Like, what do you keep in mind when you're talking to that kind of demographic?
Sure. I mean, absolutely. It's the cool thing and the heavy thing is that you're really helping to shape the way that people view the world. I mean, obviously, you know, their parents, their peers, the factors in their life are always going to have the biggest influence. But I know that as a child, things that I watched, things that I enjoyed, things that I read helped create who I am. And I love the fact that I can, you know, like, for example, with a book like Weird Science, it's about friendship. It's about coming together and helping each other. It's also about girls exploring science and the different ways that science is cool and empowering and magical. And that's an important message to me as a mother of a daughter, especially. Yeah. So I think, you know, getting to have opportunities to put things like that into the world. Oh, these cool superheroes that I look up to are also like really and truly dealing with like fundamental things in science and learning things and having fun with that. You know, is also like, it's pretty cool that I get to do that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
pretty rad.
That is really cool. Have you got any fun feedback from like younger fans, or just had some fun experiences meeting younger fans?
The meeting, not so much because of the current state of the pandemic, but I have gotten a lot of photos of kids reading the book. There was a woman that I know posted on Facebook that she had caught her daughter at 2:00 in the morning under the covers with a flashlight reading a book, and then
So
that
cute.
it was weird science, and I was like, oh, I think this is the crowning achievement of my life.
That's pretty awesome. And here I thought that only happened in sitcoms. Yeah, it's real.
So
And
when
then-
I was
Oh, go ahead.
when I was a little boy, like my little boy writer that I was kind of obsessed with was R.L. Stein, and he wrote those Goosebumps books, and I got to meet him at a book signing at Barnes and Noble when I was a little boy. It was like
Awesome.
super exciting. I felt bad looking back. I feel kind of bad for him because he was like mobbed by kids, just surrounded by kids.
I bet that mostly he loved that. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, it's a really special, cool thing when you get to ignite that kind of passion in a kid. Like one of my daughter's best friends was sharing on like their little Zoom class, and he had like made his own little story and had drawn Jessica Cruz as Green Lantern, and then I realized like he was making his own DC superhero girls comics because he had read mine, and I was like, oh, like he's making his own stuff, he's writing his own stuff, he's drawing his own comics. The fact that I could help like facilitate that was, I don't know, it was very, very cool.
That is awesome.
That
So
is cool.
you did Batman and Harley Quinn, right? So that's in the same universe as
Then?
Batman the animated series.
Yes.
They've recently announced that they're going to do a continuation called Batman The Adventure Continues. Are you going to have any role in that, or are you going to try to? Because it seems like you'd be a good fit.
No one has talked to me about it. I would absolutely love to and enthusiastically say yes to it, but like right now I'm not slated to be involved.
Sure.
So headline: Amanda Deibert expresses interest in working on.
Exactly. Call the editor.
With the way headlines are going, it's actually probably going to say something like Amanda Deibert in the works for this or something like that.
Exactly. Now it's my idea. I created the
That's
whole
right,
thing.
right.
I am Batman. Surprise, surprise.
Awesome.
Oh my god! Imagine the response to that. So Amanda, I want to know what comics inspire you. Like, have you got any classics that you revisit or like reread?
Oh gosh, that's such a complicated question, because it's like then the answer becomes like choosing favorite children. It's like lots. Yeah.
Right.
You know, I always go back to, I got started as a very little girl with the Archie comics. I was particularly really into like the Betty and Veronica digests, and it was always a treat for me. I would go to the grocery store with my mom, and they would have like those little comic racks up by the checkout. And if I behaved myself, then as a treat, I got to pick a comic, and it was like such a big deal.
That's awesome.
That's like when I go to like my nostalgic happy place, that's where and then I'd reread those until I got to go, you know, to the grocery store again and get a new one. But it was just, you know, the same comics over and over. And that's always,
That's awesome.
when I think about like the core of where it all started, that's where I always go.
That's it. Yeah,
cool.
that's so cool. So you, as a queer woman, you provide that much needed representation in comics to people who are frequently overlooked in all kinds of media. And I'm wondering, is there ever any pressure associated with that for you?
I don't know about pressure per se. Like, I don't feel like there's anybody who is, I don't know, like, you know, it's like anyone yelling at me, like, be more lesbian or be more whatever. But I do think that it's like a cool privilege that I have, that I'm able to be out and open and work in a way where, you know, people can see and know about me, that I get to work with my wife so often. You know, we don't always work together, but she is an illustrator. And so, you know, sometimes we do work together. And I think that it's kind of neat to get to see like this married couple that both works in comics, who also happen to be women, who are also mothers, who, you know, and I do think, you know, young queer people, young queer women particularly, often will come up when back in the days when we could go to conventions, would come up to us in conventions and say, you guys are goals, or I'm so happy to see you because it makes me feel like I can do this kind of thing, or that I can write queer content, or there's a place for me. I even remember there was a trans woman who came up to me at a convention once and told me that the Wonder Woman story that I wrote for Sensation Comics helped her in her journey of transitioning, because it was a story about being true to yourself, and that meant a lot to me.
Wow,
that's awesome.
To just know that sometimes you're writing things without you're not necessarily thinking about it in a certain way or through a certain lens, but your worldview obviously informs the way that you write and the stories that you tell. And there's even when you're not overtly trying to do a thing, you're still communicating a truth. And I think that's why why diversity of life experiences is important in creative fields.
Have you ever gotten pushback from like editors telling you to be less authentic, or?
No, thankfully. I have been really, really fortunate to work with very amazing editors who have encouraged me to do and be exactly myself and write this kind of stories that I want. And even right now, Kat and I are working on DC is doing a book, Wonder Woman of History. And Kat and I did a story together, and it's all about real women in history. So it's a inspiring women anthology.
Nice.
And we're doing the story of Edie Windsor, who her case in the Supreme Court helped LGBTQ equality get to where it is today. She's definitely like a pioneer lesbian and means a lot to us, and we got to write her story, and that was DC coming to us, editors coming to us saying, will you write this story, and me being like, oh my god, yes, please, thank you.
That's awesome.
That's rad.
Almost like the tides are changing.
Right.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Right. That's great.
I've actually got a question about two projects off the back of that whole queer representation discussion, which is so one was the Work for a Million graphic novel. Yeah. I'm curious, can you tell us a little about the experience of adapting someone else's novel into a graphic novel?
Yeah. So that was the first time that I've ever done an adaptation. And that, it's similarly to when you have an iconic character that you really want to do justice, when you're writing like Wonder Woman and you realize there's all this history. And there's this gravitas of like, I don't want to fuck it up. I don't want to ruin something that people love for fans.
No pressure.
In the same way, dealing with an adaptation, I felt that way because it's like, this is Eve Zaremba's novel, and I don't want to, she did something that at the time was incredibly progressive and wasn't being done, having this open lesbian detective. It was published, they were published in the 70s and 80s when there wasn't as much representation. And so, I wanted to stay very true to that, very true to her characters, very true to her story. But I still wanted to add my own spin on it. And there's still the difference in mediums. So you've got, a novel. It's a very different pace. With a graphic novel, you need more action. You need more visually interesting things. You've got to combine some characters because too many characters become hard to keep track of for a reader, just looking at all these different faces and which random person is this. So it presents challenges that way, but it was really very fun to do and to kind of deal with a story that didn't come out of my own head, but then figure out how I was going to tell it.
That's so cool. That I honestly struggled when I was looking at it, thinking about, because I often try and imagine the process of what a writer's going through or an artist is going through, and I was like, I can't imagine what that would be like. So that's really fascinating to hear about. Love is Love is another one that I wanted to ask about. So that was a comic book anthology to benefit the survivors of the Orlando Pulse shooting.
Yes.
What was that like? How did that eventuate? How did you end up involved in that project?
Well, Mark and Draco put it together, and he's someone he had worked with my wife, Kat, on Wonder Woman 77 and knew us. And I also, so I grew up just outside of Orlando and in Central Florida. And so some friends and people that I grew up with are people that still, like, that performed as in drag at Pulse or who frequented Pulse. So for me, it was a very... it was a personal, close to home situation on top of just as part of the LGBTQ community, it being close to home, and just as a human being who doesn't want to see horrific things happen.
Yep.
So I was, I really very much wanted to be a part of it and was very enthusiastic about getting involved. And it is, it's that complicated thing. You want to do something, you want to help. You want to make sure that you're not in any way cheapening or making light, or you know, there's such a heaviness, there's such a loss. In the end of the day, we all wanted to make sure that we were paying tribute to the people who were murdered and to their families. And so it was a very beautiful, very sad experience. And we did an event in Orlando at the convention that year, where we actually met some of the family members and survivors. And it was, you know, just kind of like a private event for the people that had contributed to the book and some of the families. And that was really sad and really lovely as well.
Well, that's awesome.
On that light note.
Yeah, I was going to say, so my brain's doing this like, how do I transition from that to this question I have in my head? No, that is beautiful. That's awesome that you did that. But so getting back into like TV and stuff, you have experience with TV and comic books. Which do you like better? Do you have like a favorite? Like, if I could do this for the rest of my life, which one would you pick?
Do you know, the comics are the most fun thing I do.
Yeah.
It's just so there's so much less limitations.
Right.
For one thing, just budget. This, as silly as this sounds,
right.
You write a story. An artist can draw basically anything you come up with. I mean, my wife would kill me if she heard me say that, because then sometimes you're like, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hordes of people and cats,
right?
And,
like,
you know,
yeah,
minute detailed costume pieces,
right.
And then they're like, yeah, fuck you, we can draw anything.
That's right.
I hope my language is okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. Yep.
Absolutely okay.
And but in general, you know, if you, for instance, in Wonder Woman 77, that comic is based in the world of the Linda Carter TV series in the 70s. Mm-hmm. But like for one of the issues that I wrote, I had her, it was like a space race story. And I actually had her like going into outer space and like doing some things in outer space. And it's like, if you were doing that on the actual television episode, that wouldn't have happened. You would have maybe had like, maybe you could do like a set inside of a spaceship or something. Like, you just don't have, you can't just be like, and then there's explosions and they're in outer space and now they're back on Earth and now there's, so I like,
because there's this cost totaling
exactly.
as it goes, like ching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I like the freedom of comics. There's also like, as someone who loves the art and the visuals of comics, it is so amazing to write a story and then watch an artist do these beautiful panels that make you seem so much better than anything that you actually wrote or could have come up with.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So like, that's my favorite, but I really enjoy working in TV too. You know, it's a collaborative art in a different way. And, you know, in the same kind of thing that when you're doing like animation and these amazing voice actors come in and bring everything to life and add so much character and heart and charm and humor. And then you've got the beautiful animations, and it's, you know, watching each piece of it come together step by step is, it all just feels like magic. And then I just feel really, really lucky.
That's cool.
Nice.
So what about right now? I know you talked about He-Man. Are you working on any projects that you're allowed to talk about? If you're not allowed to talk about them, then we'll keep it a secret. We'll just only tell YouTube. That's it.
Well, so I'm working on He-Man right now, which is really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And in a very different realm, I've got a show that I write for called Sexology on Quibi, which is more like a talk show dealing with sex and sexuality, and hosted by Shambudram, who's amazing. And then I'm working on some comic book stuff, but I don't think I can talk about that stuff.
Publisher?
But,
what if you just only said publisher?
I'm doing a few new things for DC.
Okay, cool.
I do have Kat and I have another volume of John Carpenter's Tales for Halloween Night coming out in October. We do that every year. Very excited about our story this year.
Nice.
So that is coming soon. And soon I'll have some information that I can't announce yet, but Work for a Million will be published in a more broad way, but I can't really talk about that yet because
I
can't.
You said you said something interesting. I've been hearing a lot more about Quibi. Right? Is that how it's pronounced?
Quibi.
Quibi, yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, is that taken off? Like, you're doing a show on it. So, so I've heard like kind of mixed reviews. Is this a thing now?
It's a thing. There's an app you can download and watch. It's interesting. It's all very like extreme short form. So if you're a person who likes to watch entertainment in like 6 minutes or less, then it's worth checking out. They've got like reality and talk stuff. They've also got like scripted. They've got some interesting things like a horror film that's being done in like 6 minute bites and like different little things. Some's comedy. It's a mix of genres, so it's kind of an interesting platform.
Awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we're all quarantined mostly. Not me. I'm in a hotel in Vegas because my work decided to send me somewhere.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I know.
Wow.
But I've been quarantining myself in my room, so I brought reading material. I'm fine, mostly fine. But besides writing,
not salty. He's totally fine.
Yeah, not salty at all about it.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I would also feel stressed out, and yeah, that's stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. So what have you been doing to stay sane during COVID, besides not talking about work or writing or anything, but like what other stuff?
Well, I'm a mom, so quarantine with a kid is a really interesting thing. She's amazing and we've had a good time. And in a lot of ways, it's great because we get so much extra time with her. In other ways, it's a pretty interesting juggling of things, so I'll be on Zoom calls and trying to work and trying to write. My wife's trying to draw. We're trading off doing, trying to do academic things with her and keep her stimulated and play with her and take her swimming and help her blow off steam and give her some sort of schedule and routine so that she doesn't lose her mind. Because as hard as this is on us, it's really hard on a 5.5-year-old who doesn't have the same kind of outlets that we do, can't casually text or call friends or whatever. So it's been, most of the way I've been keeping myself busy is playing with my daughter a lot, doing projects with her a lot, trying to make sure that she's working on her reading and her math. And I'm fortunate enough that we have a pool, so a lot of swimming,
nice,
which is very helpful in this time. But yeah, it's been, other than that, trying to do the creative projects that I can to stay stimulated, a lot of Zooming with friends and doing, like game nights where we all get on the Zoom call and like figure out some sort of game to play and drink and
that's cool.
Talk about how hard it is to be parents.
If only everybody was that responsible, maybe we wouldn't have to do Zoom parties.
There's that.
What do you nerd out on, would you say? Kind of an open-ended question.
What do I nerd out on? I nerd out on so many things. I nerd out on books. I nerd out on TV shows. I spend way too much time on Twitter. This is the dorkiest answer I can give, is that like I nerd out on Twitter. That's my like stress relief for social media. That's really, really dorky, I know, but it's true.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Um,
My Twitter time has definitely gone up. Like, I'm
Right.
always on Facebook, but they're like, oh, Twitter, this whole new world of toxicity is great.
yeah. Look at all these people I can yell at. and fight with.
Right.
So you talked about books. Yeah, you know, you're obviously well read and an artist. Would you? So it might be the end of the world. We don't know yet. So let's say the world ends and you have to pick one book, and one movie. And the book could be a comic book too. It doesn't have to be a comic book. One book, one movie to take with you to this island that doesn't end. I'm not a writer.
One junk food item. Can we add one junk food
Sure.
item?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
My book is Neil Gaiman's American Gods.
Ooh, nice.
Yes.
My movie is Clue.
Ooh.
Okay.
That is my favorite movie of all time.
Wow. All right.
And I know. But I love it
It's
so
not. It's a
much.
good movie. It's just I've never heard it be called someone's favorite movie.
That's an
My-
unexpected answer.
It's my absolute favorite movie.
All right.
It never fails to make me laugh. And
Junk food.
my junk food, just when probably like tortilla chips and salsa.
Okay, but like what kind of salsa? Not all salsas are equal.
It would have like the spicier the better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if I could homemade it myself and like throw in like all the jalapenos in the world, then that's the direction we're heading in.
Cool.
Very nice.
Um,
Very nice.
Awesome.
Great. All right. Curveball question for you, Amanda.
Okay.
Are there any Marvel characters that you would be interested in ever writing, or any creator-owned projects that you have your sights on?
Yes and yes. I would. The only reason that I haven't done any Marvel is just because like Marvel hasn't hired me. I would love to.
Amazing.
My favorite Marvel character since I was a little girl is Storm.
Cool.
So that's my
Yes.
go-to
Nice.
because I don't know. I think that was probably like before I knew I was a lesbian. That was probably like a crush situation.
Sure. Yeah.
Can understand that.
It's a
for
good
sure.
crush.
So it's like I want to be Storm, or maybe just like hang out with her
Yeah.
a lot.
It's feelings I don't really understand right now.
Just kind of like thing. So
Yeah. And she's definitely overdue for her own. She needs her own title.
She really-
It's
she really
ridiculous
does.
that she doesn't have one.
she
What
really
is Storm's
does.
sexuality? Is she straight, or is she like?
She is,
She's
but
straight.
I don't know.
but she might. You never know.
Yeah.
You never
But
know.
look, she just hasn't been alone with me. Is all I'm saying.
That's right. Look, start off as friends, see where it goes.
Just give me time.
That would be cool. Which artist would you try and commission if you were doing a Storm title?
Ooh,
Who would you want to work
you
with?
have
in
to
that?
say your wife.
I mean, like my go-to is always my wife, which is a little bit
cool.
cheating.
Right.
That would be rad, though.
But I love working with Kat, not just because she's my wife. Like I also just love her art, and then also there's the ease of we have a shorthand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I write something, I know that that the way she's going to draw it is going to be amazing, and and we live together, so it's that very easy. Like, hey, babe, what do you think about this? I just did this. Oh, that's cool. What if that
The
collaborative
dreams.
process that you don't really get with anybody else?
That's pretty awesome.
So that's my
Like, what
my
a
cheater
perfect
answer.
fit, right?
Let's say Kat renounced art and you had to go with a different artist.
Oh my god. I don't know then. Then I have to panic. I mean, like in a dream world, probably like Mark Brooks, who I love
Okay.
and does gorgeous work.
Yeah.
But there's a long list of artists. I feel really lucky to be able to work with everybody that I've worked with, and if I could work with like a million more people, I would. And I hope that as my career continues, I will get to.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
So, a very traumatic, and I'm sorry for bringing this up. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want, but a very traumatic thing happened to you recently. You were savagely attacked by a wasp.
I could tell the face like, oh, where's this dude going right now?
I'm like, oh god, which traumatic
Yeah.
thing? We're in the middle. It's 2020. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
5 minutes.
Could be anything.
2020 is a traumatic event in itself.
It is. It is.
Right.
We're all having PTSD right now.
Right.
But yes, there was a wasp in my house, and not the sweater wearing New England kind, like the actual bug kind. And luckily, I was saved by my cat and my cat. So like our actual cat, Raven, who was like stalking it around, and then I realized it was in there. And then my wife cat very courageously killed it while I ran our daughter into her bedroom.
That's a new comic. That's a new comic.
Yeah,
Cat
you know,
Square,
action packed.
a superhero team up. Yeah.
So was this wasp like the size of a small dog, or like? Because then
sure,
the way you're
yeah,
telling the
totally
story.
yeah, it was like the size of a bus.
But that's huge.
It was bigger than my whole house.
That's crazy.
For sure.
That's
It
crazy.
definitely wasn't like a small little bug that I maybe overreacted to and like
Hey,
ran
yeah,
with my daughter
yeah.
as if it was like gonna outrun us. And no, it was fine. It
Yeah.
was totally fine. A very normal reaction.
That's right.
That's great.
Awesome.
So this is kind of the last question. But what can you tell us about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe?
Oh God, I wish I could tell you so many things. And I can't really tell you anything.
It's gonna be based on He-Man. There'll be a
There's-
sword.
Is
There's
He-Man in it?
so much cool stuff. He-Man is in it. I will tell you that.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Headline.
And other He-Man-like characters, some of whom you have been familiar with in the past and will remember from your childhood
Yeah.
in some incarnation.
Yeah.
This project has an awesome voice cast.
It's gonna be really cool. I'm really excited. Yeah, I wish I.
No, that's definitely okay. We understand. We always do that. I mean, if anybody who watches
Of
all our
course.
interviews, it's always like, can you do something that maybe puts your career in jeopardy? Can you just do? Come on, we're a small YouTube. Nobody's listening to us. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We know that
Thank
everyone's
you.
time is valuable, so we really appreciate it. Tell your family we said hi, and I'm glad you're safe from the bus-sized wasps.
I mean, thank you. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Subscribe,
Bye, thank
ring
you.
the bell and be free. Follow our links and watch our show because you want to and not because of the threats. Thank you for watching Judah, Robo, and Ree. We talk about comics, movies, and TV. Sometimes we have notable guests and sometimes it's just us. But we're also cool.